Okay, so I forgot to show you one last problem. We did this in class, but I think this is a very good problem to review. I apologize ahead of time that I'm making this video kind of late, but hey, at least I'm trying to help you out, right? You are more than welcome to go do this problem on Pearson. You'll find it in homework 3.4. Again, I highly encourage you to revisit this problem. It might help you. So here we go. Let's make this fast. So this is a three-parter question, right? You're basically trying to make a rectangular fence out of 400 yards of fencing, right? So you want to basically put 400 yards of fencing around here, but you need to figure out what's your width and what's your length of this fence, right? So to do the first one, the first question is asking you write this as a function of W, right? So express the area as a function of W. What that means is, well, area of this rectangle is length times width. That's what you learn in algebra. Now, we're trying to dissect this function. The thing is that functions can't be of two variables. Now, since this is a function of W, we need to get rid of this L, and we need to make it into something that's a W. The only way we could do that is by utilizing this rectangle and understanding that the whole rectangle, right, if you walk the whole rectangle, that's going to be 2L. You're going to walk 2 L's plus 2 W's. And according to this problem, the whole perimeter is going to be 400 yards of fencing, yeah? So now, in order to write this as a function of W, that means you have to solve for L here. You need to solve for L. So you do some algebra. So 2L is equal to 400 minus 2W. And then you divide everything by 2, because L has to be separate. So that's L. 400 divided by 2 is 200. Yeah. Minus W. Okay, so now you see that L equals 200 minus W. So that's what we need to substitute in here. So that's not L anymore. That's 200 minus W, because that's what L equals, times W. Okay. So this is kind of already the answer, but it's not good manners to leave it like this. So this is 200 W minus W squared. And usually you want your W squared or whatever has the highest power to be first. So that's like putting it in order, right? So plus 200W. This is correct, but this is better, right? So that's what we're going to box. That's our real answer right there. Look at that. I almost forgot the W. Okay, so now this function basically represents the area of this, right? Now, the question B is asking for what value of W is the area the largest, meaning we want to make this the largest space in here. But we need to figure out what's the biggest width we can have this rectangle, because if we put too big of a number, our fence will not close it, right? Because we won't have enough fencing. We want to get the number where we can basically use all our fence that we have. If the W is too small, you're going to have too much fencing, and then you're going to have too much left over. So with that being said, to find out what the largest W is, right? Anytime you hear the word largest or maximum or whatever, that usually refers to the vertex, okay? So to the vertex. So for B, we really need to find the vertex. But just to put it into perspective here, the vertex is x comma y, right? But I showed you that the way to look for the vertex, just the vertex alone, is negative b over 2a, right? This is a shortcut to getting the vertex. This is a bad shortcut if you're asked to graph the vertex form. In order to do that, you really want to do completing the square. This is just to get the vertex. Now, normally it would be x and y, so I want to make sure you understand this. This would be x and y normally, but because this is a function of W, what this really is, well, let's explain this one more time. This is x, this is y, but it's really f of x. But since this is W, and this is really f of W. Okay, we need W. This W is the x of the vertex, which is basically the largest W we can choose. So let's just do the formula. So W is equal to negative b over 2a, which is equal to negative, and this is where you have to remember, this is a here, and this is b here the second term. That's why you want it in this order. So negative b is negative 200 divided by 2a, which is just negative 1. And if you do the math, the negatives cancel out, and then 200 divided by 2 is 100. So that's your W. But remember, don't forget the context. That's yards, right? So it's 100 yards. All right. So what that means is the width has to be 100 yards maximum to maximize the area here, to ensure that you're using all the fencing. Now, it's C. C is asking, what's the maximum area? So the actual area, that means that you need to plug this W into this function, okay? So that's what you're really asked to find is f of 100, which is equal to negative 100 squared minus 200, not minus 200, plus 200 times W. Well, 200 times W, but W is 100. All right, so if we do the math correctly, why do I keep erasing? If we do the math correctly, we're left with negative 10,000. 100 squared is 10,000, which, by the way, you want to try your best on the test. But if you ever have a big number like this on the test, just work with it. But you're more than welcome to ask because, sometimes people end up with big numbers and they're not supposed to. So that's negative 10,000 plus 200 times 100, that's 20,000. Okay, so then negative 10,000 plus 20,000, that's just 10,000. So you end up with 10,000 yards squared. What that means is your maximum area of this rectangle using your 400 feet of your 400 yards of fencing will yield for 10,000 square yards. So it's a pretty big area. But that's it. That's just how you do this problem, and I hope this